For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, we are live and amplified. So let's get ready to podcast.
Fire it up.
To another live and amplified Livecast. I'm your host, Tom Quiet, and we're back at it again with another amazing podcast. Today we have a very special duo of guests. We have Adele and Andy. How's it going today, guys?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good.
Awesome. So first off, I want to thank you all so much for giving us the time to sit down and chat. I know Rachel had sent me, what was it, a couple weeks ago, like an email saying that you guys are getting ready to release a new single. And then she followed up with like the preview or whatever. And I was like, hey, let's book the podcast. So I was really excited when we were able to get it worked out on It was pretty short notice. So, but before we kind of jump into everything about your new single you got coming out on Friday, concept of time still eludes me at this point. Been in lockdown so long. It's like, wait, how many days is Friday? Yeah. So, you got a new single dropping on Friday. What's kind of your backstories? What got you guys into music, and what brought you together, or how'd you start playing together?
Okay, so so I think it's fair to say that we've both really, music has kind of been in our blood, really, from the day one. And my early influences really were, I suppose, really the likes of Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and all that kind of rocky stuff. And we do like rock music.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is probably as far away as you could possibly get from the stuff that we're doing now. So, and we kind of, I suppose, really, we got together as a couple 3 years ago. And I don't think, I certainly didn't know that Adele could sing, and I wasn't playing guitar at the time. So, it was a bit of a shock to me one day when all of a sudden she came in and she was talking about some other artists, and she kind of was talking quite a lot in depth really about music. And I sort of said, well, have you ever done any singing? She went, well, I can sing a bit, yeah. And I think you'd done stuff on Shmuel,
yeah.
And because Adele's quite a nervy kind of person, and the like, she basically said, you're not listening to it. So eventually I managed to persuade her to let me have a listen. And what was the song?
It was Can't Help Falling in Love.
Oh yeah,
that was the song.
It was, yeah. And I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't believe it. It was just like surreal, really, that she could sing as well as she could. And from there, really, I kind of really started saying to her, you ought to do this. We ought to go to a couple of open mics and see how you go. And do you want to talk a little bit about your first experiences in terms of open mics?
Oh, it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But bless, both Andy and the guy that run it were both dead patient with me. They knew I wanted to do it, but they were just like encouraging me each time. And I think each time I would sit there and have a bit of a sulk because I didn't get up. But it took about 12 weeks for me to actually get up. Then when I did, I've tried working with a couple of guitarists, but it never really worked out. There just wasn't that connection there. So I got this one to pick up a guitar and was like, come on, if I've got to do it, you've got to do it with me.
And I think I'd been waiting for an opportunity to do something musically, because I'd really, all through my life, no matter what's happened, music's always been there. And to have the opportunity to learn an instrument. So that's how we began, really.
Awesome. Who are some of your influences? Who are you listening to when you first started learning to play and stuff like that?
I think
we were listening to like everyone. I think when we first started, from the basics all the way up to I'm never going to be able to play like that. It was absolutely everything we were listening to.
But I think we then said, right, okay, so if we're going to do some music, we're going to cover some songs. Let's have a think about who who you could actually do justice to in terms of singing it. And I think Fleetwood Mac were probably a very early. I think we learned maybe 3 or 4 of their songs before we'd really done anything else. So I think that kind of vibe really we felt. Adele sings "Songbird" by Fleetwood Mac, which I absolutely love her version of, and I think the likes of Dreams and different Stevie Nicks tracks really suited Adele's voice. And then it kind of like, it was a bit of an organic process really, where, you'd go out and you'd do some songs. And I wrote, without Adele knowing, I actually wrote a song for Adele, our first song, which was called A Love That Is Rare. And it was really, it was kind of I suppose, a romantic gesture really. And we played it when we were doing a gig, and somebody said to us, "Have you got any more songs?" And we went, "Well, no, we haven't really. That's the only one we've got." So we then decided we'd record that song, and from there, really, it kind of like spiraled on to, that's okay. Well, let's do another one. And before we knew it, we were halfway through what was our first album, called "Watch Over You."
Gotcha. And so you started recording and playing together in 2019, correct? Or were you starting to play together earlier than that in 2018?
2019, 2019.
You only picked the guitar up in November 2018, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Okay, so you started releasing music essentially in 2019 and getting out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, so you released like a bunch of singles that ultimately you put together as an album, Watch Over You, which you released, I almost said earlier this year, but this year is only 17 days.
Yeah.
In 2020. So how, I don't like jumping off with the pandemic, but it's one of those things. How has the pandemic kind of affected your plans for your musical career? Like,
well, if we go back to the album, what we kind of stumbled through the album really, because we didn't really know what it was we wanted to do, and I think what happened during the pandemic was we started to do some live streams, and we got some really interesting feedback. And there were people who were saying, "Do you know what? I think we did a few country numbers that we'd started to listen to country." And people started saying, "Do you know what? This really suits you. You should do more of this." And so, to cut a very long story short, we wrapped the album up so that we could really say, "Well, that's the end of that first chapter.
Yeah.
What we really want to do now is focus on a country genre." And we then set about writing 3 songs really to stamp, to make a bit of a stamp to say, look, we're now doing country. And so those 3 songs came out as 3 singles towards the back end of last year really.
Okay. And then Misty Eyes is your first song this year. Was this one of the original 3 that you were recorded, or is this something new?
No, the first 3 are already out as singles. This one is part of a 4-track EP. So this one's coming out at the end of this month, and then the EP, which is including that song, is out at the end of February.
Okay, awesome. So Misty Eyes is the song that's releasing on Friday. What's kind of the story behind that song?
Okay, so Adele wrote this song. I mean, traditionally, what we've tended to do is I've kind of got the lyrics down, and Adele's worked on
I do the melody,
more on the melody, and then kind of comes back to me. But this one, Adele decided that actually she'd do this one all on her own. So people don't like it. It's nothing to do with me. It's Adele.
Wow.
So Adele did it, and I think the story behind it really was we were looking at the idea that there's a lot of young girls who meet somebody for the first time. They instantly, as a young girl, think it's the fairy tale. It's the fairy tale romance. And then what we did with the story really was looked at it on the basis that quite often
they find out that it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's not like these fairy tales with the princesses and stuff that you read in your books.
And I think it's the story really of finding out that that this guy that this girl's met is a bit of a bit of a cheat, and he's really sort of not been very nice to her, and so on and so forth. And towards the end of the song, really, it's an acknowledgement that these things happen. And it's only when she meets somebody that treats her properly that she realises actually there may be some light at the end of the tunnel. So it's kind of all around that.
It's not. We say that it's about females because obviously it's got females other names in there that she's found out that this guy's with, but we've kind of, because we're releasing a video alongside it as well, so we've put both males and females in there because it could be for both, because obviously it's not just women that go through it, it is men that go through it as well.
Is the video releasing on Friday as well, or
do you know what? We haven't actually.
We keep saying it's going to be released, and we haven't set a date for it. So.
I think we'll probably we'll leave it a few days for people, in the hope that people might actually go and stream it and all the rest of it, and then maybe a week later bring the video out.
Awesome. I was asking because I wasn't sure if it was like where it was in the process, if it was like done and it's just a matter of promoting it and whatnot. But
it's done.
What was it? What was the process like shooting a music video during a pandemic when you're in pretty much 23 hours a day lockdown and
impossible?
You just can't do it. So we had to get various clips and put those clips together
of all different emotions that you would see someone go through during a breakup.
I mean, the only bit that I suppose is original stuff that we've done is Adele singing in the studio.
Awesome. Yeah. It's just one of those things where during this time, you got to get creative with your video. Like, you definitely need video components right now for your music because you can't get out, you can't perform it live. I mean, you can do like the virtual shows, but those are so hit or miss right now.
I mean, I think that whole thing really, whilst we've been very fortunate in terms of the lockdown with the creative process of writing, and we've managed to get a number of songs out. The fact that you can't go out and perform, you can't go out and meet people, you can't network with people, we are relatively new to the scene, and I think there's a lot of people that really don't know us as people, and so that can be quite frustrating at times, and we're dying to get out there and maybe get a full band together and actually do some of these tracks and meet people so that people can actually see us in person
and build that authentic connection, because like at shows is where that really happens. Like, that's where you build your real fan base, is out at shows in public, talking to them face to face. So you'd kind of touched on this a little bit already. What's the creative process when you sit down to write music? Like, who normally takes the reins as far as like actually writing? What's kind of the breakdown for the two of you?
Sorry, Adele's just, we have a little boy who's just we've kind of said to give us a little bit of a time to do this interview, but he keeps coming in and having a nose. So
is that what you're doing?
So if Adele disappears, that's the reason why.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I think it's fair to say that whilst Adele is the creative person and she's the one with talent in the duo, I think in terms of the writing and in terms of us putting ourselves out there and all the rest of it, I'm kind of the driving force really. So more often than not, it will be me that said, I've got a song here. I want you to go and have a look at it. We've just, funnily enough, this week we've just said, you know what, we're going to change this slightly. But so generally speaking, I would give Adele a bunch of words, tell her the story. She'd disappear for a couple of days and then come back with something that usually sounds okay. And then we'd basically see how the words fit around the melody. And quite often you have to change the words to make it sound better. Oh, yeah. But I think this week we've actually said, do you know what?
We're actually going to do our first song together.
Yeah. So, I've kind of, the song that I've got in my head, I've kind of got the story and I've got a verse and I've said, right, now this is the story, this is the verse, go away.
I've got the chorus.
go and write some words.
Yeah.
So I'm quite intrigued to see what she comes back with on that, really. So that should be cool. It should be quite a lot of fun.
Awesome. That's and then you'd also mentioned the hope is once like shows open up that you want to do you like to form like a full band around you or figure out like what the band configuration would be.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very hard as a duo going and getting gigs because you can kind of get lost because it's just literally two guitars and vocals.
I think you leave people disappointed because in our songs there's quite a lot of stuff in there. There's violins, there's banjos, etc., and drums obviously, and I think when you go out, people's expectations are lowered because they know that you're a duo and they make exceptions for that. But it would be very nice to be able to go out and actually reproduce the sound that that's come out of the studio. So we've got some people in mind that may help us to do that. So we're really keen to do that, and I think it's going to help us because, as I say, it's we've not been out there. We did a gig in Digbeth towards Deadwax, where we met a few people who were country people, and we got some really good feedback. But it's that kind of thing that we need to do more of, really, to help us really get more established.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything's kind of in flux right now because of the global state of the global pandemic, and just different countries doing different things. So you've got your new single releasing Friday, and then it's also a part of your upcoming. You said it was an EP releasing in February. Yeah. So let's talk about the EP for a minute. What went into the song selection process? Do you usually like write specifically for an album, or like what kind of goes into the selection process for that?
So I think we learned, and we are, because we're so new, we are learning all the time. And I think we learned that when we did the first album, it was a little bit, we did a song and then we did another song, and they didn't really connect in the way that we would like them to do. And I think, because a lot of our writing is quite personal to us, the whole EP really is, it's relationship driven. It's about finding your way back from situations that you were perhaps in, or we were in, before we met. So there's a big connection between all four songs, really. One of which is a little bit left field in that it's a bit more, it's kind of metaphoric, really, in the sense that it's actually about a dog, and it's about the fact that this dog kind of is in a really happy place with its master, and he gets kidnapped in the middle of the night and taken away, and is forced to fend for himself in the forest with lots of other dogs, and eventually he's forced to pull sleighs, and basically he's broken in terms of what he's done, but he gets rescued in the end and goes back to back into this nice place that he was in. But because he's had all this massive adventure, he's missing out on something. He wants to get back to the adventure. And it's kind of a metaphor for life, really, that quite a lot of people that will not go out there and do something because they're frightened of it. And when they're forced to do it, they actually really like it, and when they retreat from that, then they're a little bit uncomfortable. So it's kind of all around that sort of theme.
So you basically come up with a theme and then you just morph it around that, whether it's a song that you've already had written or whatever. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think so. I think the first song that we did was Misty Eyes. That was the first song, and because obviously there was stuff in there about relationships, and there was stuff in there about things that had broken down, and and eventually were mended, and I kind of thought, well, we've got another 3 songs to do. Let's connect it all. Let's put it in a way that there is a story. And the EP is called Where I Belong, and I suppose it's us, really working out with lots of stuff that's gone on with both of us, individually before we met, it's us basically saying, we're kind of happy. We now know where we are and what we've got, and we're pretty grateful for that.
Gotcha. So did what was the original release? Or how bad did COVID screw up the release of the song, or was it because it's been so long since COVID took over?
We were lucky. It was just in between, wasn't it? In between lockdowns, I think.
Yeah, we managed to get it. We come out of a lockdown because we had them ready, because we were practicing them during the lockdown. We got in the studio, I think, as quick as we could with them, and then it turned out that we got put straight back in lockdown. So I think we had Misty Eyes done earlier, didn't we?
Yes, that was.
And we were going to release that before Christmas, but it just felt right. Just going right, New Year.
There's so many Christmas songs out, isn't there?
Yeah.
And we're not really Christmas song people. It's not something that I could ever see us doing, really. So it was like, well, actually, we'll let everybody get on and do nothing against Christmas songs. They're great.
They all sounded great, what we did.
But I think for us, it's not really us. And I think we said, well, we'll leave it till after Christmas. And then the other three songs, really, we'd worked on them a lot, but we crammed them in between lockdowns, so we were able to get them done, so it wasn't too bad.
Nice. How long was it between the two lockdowns? Are we talking like days, or was it more like weeks between?
2 months?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we've had lockdowns and we've had tier restrictions.
Yeah.
It depends which tier and what you can do. So and it's bizarre because some of the things that you can do, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to do, and some of the things you can't do, you should be able to do. So it's all, and I think I speak for a lot of people where the whole thing has been very confusing.
Yeah.
The whole thing has been, you just can't understand the logic behind some of the stuff that's been going on. But I think we are where we are now, and I think we're in a lockdown, and we probably need to be with what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where, like, I know here in the States, it depends state to state what you're going on, and then even within the state, it depends on city to city what laws they're enforcing and like what restrictions they're actually making happen. But it usually comes down to like the bigger chain stores that are like across the country that kind of set the pace for everything. So it's kind of interesting, and it's, because like I'll be here in Texas and everything's fine. Well, fine, but I'll go over to like my buddy's place. He lives in New Mexico, and there'll be a block, or to get into the grocery store, it'll be wrapped around the building twice just to get in. You're waiting in line for an hour and a half, and it's like, okay, so it's
I mean, one of the things, talking about the States, my one of my kids lives in Boston, and I've not seen him now for, must be going on for 18 months. And I was due to go, right in the middle of the lockdown, wasn't able to go and see him, and so it's pretty frustrating, really. And the other older kids are at uni, so I'm not seeing them. So it's quite tough, really. It's quite tough, but you have to deal with it, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, I mean, I don't get to see my parents that often. They live 1,000 miles away on the other side of the country, and so I've seen them 3 times during lockdown, and it's just, one time they came out to me, the other time I went out to them, and then the third time it was like, you know what, screw it, let's meet somewhere in the middle, and we did. So it's, I mean, yeah. But so outside of music, what's kind of your guys' thing? What do you do to kind of decompress? What are some of your hobbies outside of music?
Well, normally we're both working. We can't even do that at the minute. Well, my business, our business is closed at the moment.
Yeah, so it's kind of, there's a bit of a synergy, really, because we print band merchandise. So we've got a t-shirt printing business that does all your band merchandise, but also personalised gifts as well. So that takes up quite a lot of the time, and I do a bit of consultancy work as well. So again, I suppose if we'd have been fully engrossed in that, we wouldn't have got as far as we got with the music. So one thing works in your favor, one thing works against it, really.
My new hobby's homeschooling at the moment. And I wouldn't advise that anybody take it up because it's horrible.
Well, that's the thing. I've been telling, like, there's a lot of, I know a lot of teachers that are like, well, not complaining, but like they're not working because they got laid off or whatever. And it's like, you know how many parents are homeschooling right now that shouldn't be homeschooling their kids? Like,
I'm not qualified to teach my child.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll hold my hands up and say yes, they do a very good job at teaching my son.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred it to stay that way, but obviously for everyone's safety, he's just gonna have to.
Yeah, you kind of, there's a lot of people who are critical of teachers, and I guess I might be one of them. But you start, when you start doing it yourself, and you start seeing that they just don't want to listen, or they can't sit still for probably 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I think I could handle the basics, but like when they start bringing in letters into math and algebra and all that stuff, it's like.
Luckily, he's not at that age yet.
Yeah.
So he's only 5, so
yeah.
The addition's quite simple. So I'm all right at the minute. If he was older, I'd be like, I've got no hope at all.
Yeah, I got nothing for you. I'm sorry. That's funny. So. I want to be respectful of your time. I don't want your child to turn the living room or the rest of the house into Lord of the Flies because he wants attention of his mother. But so you've got the single release on Friday. You've got hopefully the music video the week after, and then you've got an EP releasing in February. What's kind of going through your mind now that you've got like a lot of things in motion to set off 2021, right?
I feel like I need a bit of time to reflect, really. So I want to get some feedback. I want to see what people think.
We hope people like it.
Yeah. You never know. You really don't know. And I think we think that we found the right kind of niche for us. We feel like it suits us. But yeah, I want to reflect on what we've done. I want to write some more stuff, but I think again we might do it slightly differently.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it really is a lot dependent on whether we can get out there. Because if we can get out there, then I think we'll probably spend quite a lot of time polishing up the songs that we've learned, and so that when we get out there, we actually do them justice.
Yeah.
If we don't, I guess we'll probably record a load more stuff.
Yeah. Nice. That's the thing to be doing right now. Even if you don't have the intention of releasing it, just keep recording because you've got nothing but time right now. Keep writing. So I completely get it. But I want to thank you guys so much for jumping on the podcast. It's been an absolute blast sitting here chatting with you. Before we leave, what advice do you have for the young musicians out there that are looking to get their start or maybe take that next step in their music career?
I think the thing we're learning ourselves, but I think the thing that you really need to get a grasp of is that it doesn't really matter how good your music is. There's so much more that you've got to do. You've got to connect with people. You've got social media now drives everything, and you've got to be pretty savvy in terms of what you do. You've got to network with people.
Mm-hmm.
So the music, you've got it. Obviously, you need good music, but it's only a part of it. You said earlier on about videos. Your visual, everything is about that, and it's certainly something that is probably weak where we're concerned because we're not the most gregarious people. We don't tend to get out. We're quite private.
Yeah.
So I think if you want to get on and get yourself out there, you really have to put the effort into promoting yourself.
Yeah. Are you guys on TikTok? Have you guys adventured into that wild world yet?
I think I'm a bit too bloody old for that. I think I've resisted it. I've seen some of the TikTok stuff, and I can't really imagine me doing some of that stuff.
Oh, I could.
You'd love it, wouldn't you?
I'll get him dancing up there, no time.
give him.
There's some serious stuff that look pretty good, but I think everybody's moving that way, aren't they?
Yeah, I've started using TikTok, and I like you. I avoided it for the longest time just because I didn't want nothing to do with it. And then I was watched this musician from Nashville she had released like a few singles that she hadn't really promoted through TikTok, and they did all right. Like, I mean, wasn't crazy numbers. And then she took this one specific single, promoted it through TikTok, and like, I mean, it was a really good song to begin with. So like, it was like a really good song. But she debuted on the iTunes all around chart at #1 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, there's something to this TikTok thing. Let me figure it out.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you don't have to be silly. You don't have to dance. It's just be yourself is kind of ultimately.
Neither of us are like really big on social media because, like Andy's just said, we're quite private. I'm not 100% on Facebook. I do prefer Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. I'm still getting my head around Instagram and Twitter because I'm not a big social media person. So I think
as you can imagine, I haven't got a clue. All that's left to Adele. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah, once I've got my head around that a bit more, and I think we've got more. I think we will venture onto TikTok. We don't have. I don't have to get you dancing. You're all right. You can just sit with your guitar.
Yeah. To be honest, if you got me dancing, I think we'd probably get a lot of followers.
That's funny. That's really funny. But I want to thank you guys so much for jumping on the podcast once again. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to see. I've already listened to Misty Eyes. It's amazing. I know all the people that listen to the podcast will enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure all your fans will enjoy it as well. I can't wait to see the music video when it drops, and like all your future projects that you got coming out. So I'm really excited to see where you guys go, and I want to thank Rachel for introducing me to y'all. Like, just it's really hard to get introduced to it's really hard to find music. That's not what I meant. There's so many musicians out there. It's hard to find specific musicians to get introduced to. And I'm really glad that Rachel said, "Hey, check these guys out. Check you guys out."
Well, likewise, we appreciate, asking us to come on and it really helps us. And again, to get known. And so we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Once again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later. Cool. We are good.